In this lesson, I'm gonna paint a foliage scene and we get to know how to paint rocks, river, and trees in the far scene. Let's get started. I start wet on dry, and as you can see, I'm using different shades of brown like burnt sienna, burnt umber for my rocks. I use wet on each rock. It means that when the rock is wet with some brown colors, I can add some darker colors to the darker sides of the rocks. For the darker colors, I would mix purple, ultramarine blue with my brown. Here I see some green moss and I use sap green for the top part of the rock, and then I'm gonna move on to the far scene rocks using some more purple but not too intense for the background. For the foliage I use permanent rose and warm and cool yellows and mix them together, and in some areas, as you can see, I use sap green. For warm and cool yellows, I use Hansa yellow for the cool yellow and Indian yellow for the warm yellow. For the water, I'm going to start looking at the different values on the water, not being worried about creating water, looking at the water as an object and see the darks and lights and creating those by creating some neutral colors. Here in the front scene, I'm using some cerulean blue and I add some ultramarine blue, but all these colors are very light, and in some areas I use browns that I use for my rocks for the water as well to show the reflection. Creating some vertical moves to show tree trunks, some dark values in between. Adding some more warm colors for the leaves. Sprinkling paint with my brush. Now that the first layer is dry, I'm going to go over the second layer and creating some more dark values. For the rocks which are overlapped by one another, one rock is a negative space for the other rock. That's how I paint them. Adding one more touch to the whole scene, darkening the rocks even more. Now I'm just glazing some purple and ultramarine blue on the darker sides of the rocks. And also I'm looking at the darker values for the water, creating those, picking some of the pigments up when I see that they are too dark. And my work is pretty much done. I hope that you enjoy this lesson.